Well, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendocha, Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist number 316. Today we're talking about the Super Bowl and more importantly about betting on the Super Bowl. Who doesn't want to do that? In fact, it's going to be a big day for that. But quick couple things. First off, Raging Verbalist happens every Friday. Check us out on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, the like, and notifications if you want to be annoyed. Next thing is that, of course, we have our Facebook group, which is Position to Win Book, because, of course, that's my book. There we go. Check that out. Go get that book, and of course, because you'll have all your big winnings from your Super Bowl picks. First and foremost is that this is not financial advice or anything like that. This is for a little bit of my insights about how this thing works. All I can tell you is I'd rather, book the bets than make the bets, but who am I to stop people? This is the biggest single betting day of the year in the good old US of A. And the Seattle Seahawks going to take on the New England Patriots. Boo his, because both of my teams made it to the conference championships. That would be the Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Rams. Both made strategic errors and lost the game, but that's for another day. Today, we're talking about what's going to happen. It looks like the betting is going to hit like $1.76 billion is expected. That doesn't include all the illegal betting or, the, if you will, off the books betting. When the season started, if you had bet on both teams making it to the Super Bowl, they were both, ironically, at one point in time, 60-1 long shots. So that would have been the best bet you could have made. But if you can predict the future that well, why the hell are you betting on football and not playing the stock market or options or something like that? Now, the point of it is that there's going to be lots of different betting. There's at least 1,000. Check that out. I had to print stuff out because there's so many of them. So let's start with the basics. And all I'm going to tell you is don't bet the farm. If you got a gambling problem, don't bet at all. But okay. So the Seahawks are 4.5 point favorites. And all that means is that they've got to score more than 4.5 points. You're going to ask yourself, how do you get to 4.5? You can't. You got to either have 5 or 4 because there's no half point. But it's the way the books kind of control the money. And the question is, who are you going to take to win? My best sense of this, though, they may win but not cover the spread because they have to win by 5. That means a field goal and a safety, highly unlikely. A touchdown, even if they miss the extra point, they got it, but they can't win by a field goal. That's why it's 4.5. And I think that Seattle's probably going to win this game because of their defense, and their offense looked mighty impressive against the Rams. Though you never know those things. So you can bet it that way, or you can bet the money line. Frankly, the underdog, Patriots, going to be a tough day for them, I believe, but we'll see. That's why they play the game. You can also bet what is called the under and over. That has gone wacky, wonky, if you will, because it used to be almost always that you could go out there and bet the under and win money. And that's because, of course, people always want to bet the over. They're optimistic. But now with the, video game style football being played, that has changed somewhat dramatically. And the over and under is now set at 45.5 points. That means, even if both teams score, 20 plus points, got to be over that. And that's probably a tougher one because you're going to have defenses make lapses for that to happen. But I would personally think that the under is a decent bet. But again, that's a little bit out the door, because my method used to be simply you bet on the under and you're okay. My favorite category, of course, are all of the proposition bets. There are more of them today than ever because there are people working overtime trying to figure out, probably using AI to figure this out, but figuring out how to make crazier and crazier prop bets. I always liked prop bets. I mean, when I was in Vegas, I loved to do prop bets with people. Again, remember I was booking, not making bets. So I always like to do that. But we can go over a few of what are called like specials or novelties. You know, Super Bowl odds for the winning quarterback being Sam Darnold. He's the favorite. Drake May is the underdog. Running backs, Jason Smith and Jigba is much heavier favorite, and on down the list. And then you get into how many yards and all of those. But the ones that I kind of really like to go through is some of the kind of more unique ones, and we'll get to those. Um, you know, there's who's going to win the MVP. In this regard, almost always it's the winning quarterback, though that isn't always the case. But the question is will Jason Smith and Jigba win Super Bowl MVP? And first off, since he is the big engine of their offense, if he becomes on fire, now that bet has a lot of positive. How about the longest punt return? 18 and over 18 and a half yards for you to win that bet. Um, you know, at, in the Super Bowl, it's always a toughie because how many punts are there going to be? If it's going to be really high scoring, not a lot of punts, lots of kickoffs. So that's that's going on. They now have, because of next gen stats, if Stephon Diggs, the player, is the fastest ball carrying speed of 18.5 miles an hour. I have no idea how you would really, you know, make that bet and know that, but this has become a big favorite. So, books are always very accommodating. Remember, they always have the VIG, they take their money out. So you got to pay the VIG, and people build models and they're watching how fast these guys go. So, the real question is, and I checked this back to see how many times Diggs has gone over that line in the season, 18 and a half miles an hour. And the answer is like one time, and that is during week 16. He hit 18.7, but that's it. So that means that, yeah, I don't think they're going to give you at minus 160. I don't think they're giving you enough dough on that. Then we get to the funkier, funnier ones, which is the opening coin toss outcome. And here's where they always, give it, 103 because that's the edge, that's the big heads and tails. There is no favoritism here. So, if you got a seance and you figured this out, go bet your heart out. Who wins it is also an even split between the Seahawks and the Patriots. The jersey number of the first touchdown scorer that has a kind of an over and under because it's 10 and a half. Seems a little funky to me. Total players to have a pass attempt over 2.5 is the line. That means that the both quarterbacks are throwing the ball, but then they give it to some other player, wide receiver, running back, tight end, or something who also attempts to throw a pass. Uh, Next is the successful number of 2-point conversions. When this was first put in, I thought it was, long shot, but now it's a bigger thing because nobody kicks frickin' field goals. By the way, that was, just a rant for a second. That was the piss off factor for me with both of my teams, which they didn't kick field goals. The hell happened to kicking field goals and taking the points? Yeah, but they have the stats to back it up. Yeah, but they both freaking lost. Quarterback to catch a pass, and that is to have at least one reception. That happened in the Philadelphia Patriots game, the Eagles Patriots, when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl. Score on the first offensive play, and then it keeps getting crazier. Color of the Gatorade, color of this, color of that. And then who's going to is it going to be a wardrobe malfunction? What's going to take place on that? Bottom line is, and there's over 1,000 prop bets, and I have to tell you that I always loved inventing prop bets because people are gamblers, will bet on just about anything. So all I can say is good luck. Root for the team that you bet on, because that's really, see, that's what happens. I mean, the reason why I don't bet on football is every time I do, I bet more with my heart than my brains, and my heart isn't good at picking winners. It picks wieners, and I end up having a sad day. Now, it wouldn't be a raging verbalist without saying, and by the way, we'll do a little recap next week without me saying, go check out my book. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to win. That's a prop bet. Whenever you start a business, whenever you go out and make a sale, whenever you go out and do that, all of those are prop bets, because you're betting your time, energy, and resources. And when you think of it that way, maybe you'll be more judicial in what you do and how you do it. Wishing you great luck. Hopefully, it's a good Super Bowl and it's not really a snooze fest. And all the advertisers are spending a crap load of money, and we'll see how it all turns out in the next Raging Verbalist. And until next time, this is John Paul Mendoza, Doctor of Speed Selling. This has been Raging Verbalist number 316. Happy betting. Don't bet the farm. And all I can tell you is remember, long term, the books always win.